We got a busy show coming up on Patriots Today. I'm Harrison Graham from Chat Sports. The Patriots have fired a new coach that Nick Rohloff, a.k.a. Rolly, thinks is a brilliant move. Plus, how about drafting this player in round 2 with the number 34 overall pick? We get into that and more coming up in just a moment. But Rolly, tell the folks why they need to share this video.
Yeah, we need to make this the largest New England Patriots YouTube channel there is. The best way to do that is sharing it so more people can watch our videos and subscribe to the show. So click the share button, select the Twitter icon, post to Twitter, tag me at Nick_Rohloff. I will retweet your tweet and share. I will also follow the first 10 people to give this video or share on Twitter. So help us grow the channel. It's the best way to do it. Do your part to make this the largest Patriots YouTube channel there is.
All right, let's get to the news. And I got to tell you, I was shocked at Rolly's reaction to this. Ben McAdoo, welcome to the staff as an offensive assistant. Albert Breer had this, Garofalo confirming it as well, as he's been several places. He was the Giants OC and head coach. He was with Carolina for a year under Matt Rule, which quite frankly kind of got Matt Rule fired. And now he finds his way here in New England. Tongue-in-cheek from me because I kind of laughed when I saw this, but he does have experience. You're not asking him to call plays, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. Rolly's got an interesting angle, though, to why he thinks it could be a pretty good hire.
Listen, I think McAdoo is actually a little bit overhated, if we will. I mean, he has a long-listed resume. Harrison's laughing at me. I don't care what he thinks.
If the Bills hired this guy, you'd be laughing at it.
I don't care what he thinks. I don't care what he says. But I do want to share a quick nugget. You see he's the offensive coordinator for the Giants in 2014-15. Yes, I know that he was horrific as a head coach for the New York Giants. I don't want you to judge a book by the cover, though, because not all head coaches that don't pan out aren't good coaches in general. So when he was the OC in New York in 2014, he took over the offense that was ranked 28th in offense the year prior. He got him up to 13 in his first year as OC. In year 2 in 2015, before he got promoted to head coach, well, where did he have their offense? Oh, top 10 in the NFL, ranked number 8th. He bounced around after the head coach. That didn't go so well. I think we can all admit that. He did have, by the way, though, I know it didn't end well, Harrison, but he technically did have the Giants in the postseason. Like, they were in the playoffs. They got blown out by the Packers, the infamous boat picture. But, I mean, he still had him in the offs.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, you don't become a head coach in this league by accident, right? Like, jokes aside, like, he obviously has some skins on the wall. I do wonder what his, like, value is in the year of 2024, but I think what's more interesting, which we'll get to in a second, is maybe what he can provide from an evaluation standpoint. We'll get into that here in just a moment, but give us your one-word reaction to the Ben McAdoo hire. Rolly is going to go with sneaky-good, one word. Sharp, there you go. I'll go with, okay, we'll see how it all plays out. Now, you had an interesting nugget we were talking about before the show, Rolly, like his OC experience aside, etc. He actually has some interesting track records when it comes to evaluating some offensive talent in these NFL drafts.
Yeah, this is a sharp move. He has a decent history of evaluating quarterback talent at a high level in the National Football League. Let's flash back and go back to 2017. That was the Patrick Mahomes draft class. He's on record trying to trade up for New York to take Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, we don't know if he would have still became Mahomes without Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Excellent, blah, blah, blah. Story's the story.
I would say that's a good evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hit. That works out pretty well in favor of Ben McAdoo. It does not stop there. He was not a coach during this draft class, but he did have a quarterback class ranking for the infamous 2018 class as well, and this is how he ranked the top 6 guys. Josh Allen, number 1, Lamar Jackson, number 2, Sam Darnold, 3, Rosen, 4, Rudolph, 5, and Baker Mayfield, 6. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. Like Baker Mayfield obviously went number 1 overall, the 6th quarterback on his list. He's been okay, but probably not living up to the number 1 hype. Lamar went the last pick of the first round. He had him as number 2. He's about to be a 2-time MVP winner. And then clearly the best quarterback from this draft class was Josh Allen, who he correctly ranked at number 1, who was the 3rd quarterback taken. So he kind of nailed this draft class in a way.
Yeah, I mean, look, he had the top 2 in the top 2 spots, right? Like, even if you want to argue that Lamar is better than Allen, he has the 2 MVPs to 0. But Allen, regardless, like, to have them top 2 when neither of them, for most draft experts and scouts, were considered even the top quarterback, much less top 2, that's pretty impressive. Obviously, Mayfield would probably be the 3rd guy on that list. But, that's pretty interesting. And, look, if nothing else, if it's an extra set of eyes, Rolly, when you make this big decision with this number 3 pick, whether to go quarterback or elsewhere, certainly nothing wrong with that. It's hard to know, how much impact and influence Ben McAdoo will actually have. But we'll have to see how it all ends up playing out at the end of the day. Hit that subscribe button here on Patriots Today, and round of applause. We hit 8,000 subscribers. We appreciate your love and support. We're trying to get to 10K as soon as possible. Our goal for the end of this month is to reach 9,000 in the month of February. If you want daily coverage of your New England Patriots news, rumors, draft, and free agency coverage, we are the channel for you. Don't miss out. It is free. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button. Coming up, could the Patriots draft this wide receiver with the number 34 selection? We'll dive into that player in just a second. But first, Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy, made easy. Super Bowl Sunday is almost here, and you're going to want to play Prize Picks all Super Bowl Sunday long. You can launch your entries already, as tons of more or less stat offers are available from Prize Picks, and that's what makes it easy. You're not playing pros, you're not playing sharps. It's just you versus the stat projections. Here's a 3-player entry we've got cooking already. Is Patrick Mahomes. You get the deal there that they're offering, half a passing yard. You take the more there, obviously. Isaiah Pacheco, I think he finds the end zone in this one. And then Brock Purdy, we'll go ahead and give him the more on the passing yards as well. 10 to win 50, as you can get up to 5 times your money on a 3-player entry. Get signed up today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS with Prize Picks. They'll give you a $100 deposit match when you do that, when you sign up. Link is in the comments of this video and in the description section. Go ahead and click and download today. Okay, let's talk about that second-round pick. Obviously, a lot of the focus for New England has been with the number 3 overall selection. But Ladd McConkey, get to know this name because I think 34 could be the range. He could even sneak into round 1. But PFF had New England selecting McConkey with that 34th overall pick. And Rolly, I think going into the Senior Bowl, this is probably like a late second, early third round guy. I think he's probably helped himself out at least half a round or so. He had a really good Senior Bowl week. He was voted by fellow teammates and players at the Senior Bowl as the best receiver in Mobile. The route running is special. He's got big-time potential, man. I like what this guy could bring to the table.
Yeah, McConkey was always going to be a day 2 pick. It was just a matter of where, but he might sneak up closer and closer to that first round. He was uncoverable at the Senior Bowl, according to all reports. Doesn't matter who and what corner was lined up against him. He was winning in a big way, and that's always been his calling card. He was a great route runner. Obviously, the athleticism is a question when it comes to McConkey. But he continued to improve every single year in college in terms of yards per catch, which we'll get to in just a second. McConkey is a solid wide receiver. The build is interesting because is he a guy that can play outside? Is he an inside slot wide receiver? We'll get to that fit as well because New England already has one that is a promising young wide receiver that primarily plays in the slot in Demario Douglas. It's an intriguing hypothetical that we'll break down more in depth here, but just off first glance, would you draft Ladd McConkey with the 34th overall pick, assuming they go quarterback in the first round maybe? Would you go McConkey in the second round? Let us know. Type Y for yes, type N for no, down in the comment section.
Yeah, and look, what's interesting about how this wide receiver class is shaping up is you see McConkey's career numbers. They don't jump off the page, but some injuries in his career. Obviously, Georgia hasn't been like a high-octane passing attack. They've been pretty balanced over the years. But I think, Rolly, kind of an interesting discussion is you've got this top three, which is Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. It's kind of MHJ, then 2A, 2B with a Neighbors and Odunze. Brian Thomas, the other LSU receiver, seems to kind of have emerged himself as wide receiver 4, but then it's kind of wide open after that. It's pick your poison. I think Ladd McConkey on some people's boards will be wide receiver 5. I really, really do. Route running technician. I think he's going to run in the 4.4s at the combine now. Buck 85, you'd like him to be 200 pounds. Can he add to that frame? We'll have to wait and see. Referring to your concerns earlier about can he play up against these physical press man corners? Can he go over the middle and take shots from linebackers, stuff like that? He's given Georgia a bit of a rushing component over his career as well. But I think he's right there in that bucket with Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and several other players. Roman Wilson had a strong Senior Bowl week where you're going to have a handful, half a dozen receivers that could be anywhere from wide receiver 5 to wide receiver 10 in this draft. And I think McConkey has established himself in that group. Xavier Legette's another name I'll throw in there. And it's just going to come down to what type of player do you want. Like a Legette's going to have more physical attributes, but a McConkey I think is a more pure and polished player at the end of the day. So if the Patriots value that, then that could be the route they go.
Yeah, and like I mentioned with the wide receiver depth chart, like what does New England do if they take a wide receiver? Are they looking for a boundary guy? Are they looking for someone over the middle of the field? Because Demario Douglas kind of checks in as, to be honest, your best wide receiver on the roster, at least right now, going into his second season out of Liberty. And he was terrific in his rookie year and actually was setting records for most receptions on a Bill Belichick team as a rookie wide receiver. Like, he's your number one guy, but he primarily plays in the slot as that guy that dominates over the middle of the field. If you're drafting Ladd McConkey, I like him. I like his route running. His production is good as well, as long as he could stay on the field. He did have some injury issues his final season, didn't have it in his first 2 years, but can he play alongside Demario Douglas? Can one of these two guys, whether it be Douglas or McConkey, go to the outside, like you mentioned, with the physical press corners, not having the complete middle of the field to work with, where you could break outside, break inside, because that is the main appeal of being a slot wide receiver. Sure, you have to run into some hits with linebackers and safeties over the middle, but you have a lot of room to work with where you can break your routes off in a different route tree, right? Can Douglas and McConkey play together? I don't know. I kind of envision McConkey as a slot guy myself, which kind of is redundant when you have Demario Douglas, but maybe you disagree with me, Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can play outside. Ideally, you'd move him around where he plays some slot, some outside, and I'm not sure Douglas can do that. That's honestly more the concern. It's like you don't want to diminish Douglas by drafting someone else either, because you need multiple receivers, right? Like you can't just be like, oh, we'll draft this guy, even though he might be just a better version of the best receiver we already have, and then that guy's role gets reduced, because then you still have a problem where you have one good receiver, but you don't have multiple. Like I think ideally, like I'd rather go like an Adonai Mitchell here because he's got size. He's an outside type of guy, the receiver out of Texas. Xavier Legette's got to improve his route running, but he's an interesting name I would keep an eye on as well. I'm not turned off by the idea of Ladd McConkey, but I do think in terms of like an ideal setup to like create this improved wide receiver room, getting a guy with more physical traits, I think, probably makes a little bit more sense. But look, at the same time, you got to lean on the big board for a reason. Like if he's clearly the best receiver on the board when you're picking, and you're a team that won 4 games last year, well, you gotta stick to that board. Otherwise, the scouting was a waste of time. So it really comes down to how the Patriots like slot these guys in when they go through the evaluation process. But I do think getting that bigger physical outside guy who can be more of a threat on the boundary just stylistically would fit based on what the Patriots' current personnel is. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of Patriots Today by Chat Sports. We will be back all week long, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. That way you never miss an episode. Also, hit that share button. tag Rolly in the tweet, and he will give you guys a follow back. We'll see you next time.